Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the chapter digestion and absorption. And this is an important chapter under one of the most important unit, that is human physiology. And human physiology is really important from the perspective of NEET as well as for the class 11th, right? Today we are going to discuss the lecture number 1 of this chapter, and we will discuss why digestion is required, and what is that, all right, and what is the system which perform this process. So that means we are going to discuss a brief introductory part of digestive system, all right, and along with that we will see the component of digestive system, that is alimentary canal, right, that is alimentary canal, along with some accessory digestive glands, some accessory digestive glands, all right, and along with that we will see that there is mouth and buccopharyngeal cavity in which tongue is present. So up to the tongue we will discuss in today's lecture. All right, let's start with this. So as you know very well that we need food, we require food. And why we require food? Because food provides us energy, as well as it provides us some important organic and inorganic material, right? You know very well. And why this organic and inorganic material is required? Because this helps in our body growth, as well as it repairs the tissues, injured tissues, right? It helps in the repairment. So that's why we require food. And if we see the components of food, then food having two major components. One component which having some complex structures such as carbohydrate, proteins, fats, right? These are some complex forms. So these are known as a biomacromolecule. These are known as biomacromolecules, right? And biomacromolecules are not absorbed by in its original form by your cell. So that's why they need to be broken down. And along with these biomacromolecules, our food also contains some micromolecules, and those are known as biomicromolecules. And these micromolecules are present in trace amount and also required in trace amount, such as vitamins and minerals. And they are already in simpler form, so they need not to be digested, right? So what is a digestion required for the what? Biomacromolecule. So we have to digest the biomacromolecule because we have to convert the complicated form into simpler form, right? So if we convert this complex form into simpler form, that conversion takes place by the help of mechanical and biochemical process. Mechanical plus biochemical process, and these processes known as digestion process. Digestion process. So what is digestion? Digestion is the mechanical and biochemical conversion from the complex form to the simpler form, right? So this is known as digestion, and digestion is performed by a system named digestive system, all right? And for this digestion, water is also required. Why water is also required? Because water helps in the metabolic processes. How? Because enzyme can participate in the metabolic processes if they get water. So without water, there won't be any kind of metabolic processes. So after water is getting by the enzymes, so then the metabolic process will takes place for metabolic processes, as it is written in the slide. All right. So digestive system, if we see the components of this particular system, then it is divided into two parts. One is a long tube-like structure. One is long tube-like structure that is known as alimentary canal. What is that? Alimentary canal. And it is having further subcomponents, right? Like esophagus, buccopharyngeal cavity, small intestine, large intestine, stomach, and all that. We'll see in the sequence later on. And another part of the digestive system are accessory glands, accessory digestive glands, which are not directly participating in the digestion, but they are helping the alimentary canal for the digestion, right? Such as salivary glands, along with the liver, which is the largest exocrine gland and largest gland of our body, as well as, right, and pancreas, which secretes some pancreatic juice. Pancreas is a heterocrine gland, but the exocrine portion secrete the pancreatic juice, which helps in the digestion. All right, along with, there is a structure associated with the liver that is known as gallbladder. It's not a gland, but it stores the bile juice which is produced from the liver. Gallbladder. That's why we are not writing in the axillary gland, we are writing in the separately. All right, so these are the components of digestive system. So yes, let's start with the human digestive system. We will find out that it opens from the mouth and buccopharyngeal cavity. Like if you see this structure, so here you can see this slit-like structure which is surrounded by upper lip and lower lip. This is upper lip and this is lower lip, right? This is lower lip. So this slit-like aperture is known as mouth. All right, and when you will enter inside of the mouth, you will see a hollow cavity over here, and this cavity is known as oral cavity. And collectively, this entire oral cavity is also known as buccopharyngeal cavity. Buccopharyngeal cavity. All right, which will lead into the opening in the pharynx, and the pharynx will open into the esophagus. Esophagus will open into the stomach, right? And stomach will open into the small intestine, then it will open into the large intestine. So like this entire tube is running. All right, and in oral cavity, you will see some specific structures such as teeth. You will see a muscular flap-like structure like tongue. All right, and along with that, the peripheral region portion of this oral cavity comprises some accessory glands, which are salivary glands. So we are going to discuss these components in this particular chapter. All right, you can see over here, this is the mouth. As I told you earlier, that mouth is a slit-like aperture which is surrounded by upper lips and lower lip, right? This is lower lip. So yeah, if you are entering inside of the mouth, this is the oral cavity. This is the oral cavity, and oral cavity having two particular part. Oral cavity, one, the main part is known as central oral cavity, central part or the main oral part, and the another part which is present between the gums and cheeks, that is known as buccal vestibule. That is known as buccal vestibule. All right, what is known as buccal vestibule? Clear? In buccal vestibule, the food is temporarily stored, while in central oral cavity, the food is permanently stored and it is actually chewed and masticated in the central oral cavity. All right, and you can see the peripheral region just below the ear or below the cheek. You can see one of the salivary gland is parotid gland present over here. Another salivary gland, which is a submaxillary gland, it is present at the junction of upper and lower jaw. And the one last or third pair of salivary gland, it is present, it is situated just below the tongue. That is known as sublingual gland. And this oral cavity leads into a common opening, common passage, which is the common passage for food and air, because the air will also pass through from this particular region and the food will also pass through this particular region. This is known as pharynx. Clear? This pharynx will lead into the opening of esophagus. Esophagus is opening into the stomach. You can see over here. We will also differentiate the stomach part in the next upcoming lectures. All right, stomach open into the small intestine, and first part of the small intestine is duodenum. The second part of the small intestine is jejunum, and the last part or the third part of the small intestine is known as ileum. Jejunum having the maximum villi, and the maximum absorption takes place over jejunum. All right, and this ileum, which is the last part of the small intestine, open into the cecum region, open into the cecum region of the large intestine. Here you can see there is a small, near about 2 centimeter long structure is present over here, which is a vestigial organ present inside of the human body. This is known as vermiform appendix. All right, And this is the cecum region, which is the first part of the large intestine. Cecum just open into the this ascending part, which is known as ascending colon. This ascending colon transversed, and the horizontal portion or transverse portion of this colon is known as transverse colon, which later on descend down, and this is known as descending colon. All right, and descending colon will ultimately lead into the opening of rectum, and rectum is store fecal matter for some time. This is store fecal matter for some time. All right, so this is the entire part of the alimentary canal, and ultimately the digested food, when it is remaining as like a waste material, that will get excreted out from the anus. All right, so as I told you earlier, human digestive system divided into two parts: alimentary canal and accessory digestive gland. All right, here you can see the mouth and oral cavity. Mouth is a horizontal slit like aperture surrounded by lips, and one lip is upper lip. This is the upper lip, right? This is the upper lip, and this is the lower lip. This is the lower lip, and here you can see this entire hollow cavity is known as oral cavity. But oral cavity having two regions. This central part is known as main oral cavity or central oral cavity, while the another part, which is situated between the gums and cheeks over here, right? Gums and cheeks, this part is known as buccal vestibule. This part is known as buccal vestibule. All right, so mouth opens into buccopharyngeal cavity, or you can say oral cavity. Oral cavity having two parts, as I told you earlier. This is the clear or distinguished structure of this particular oral cavity, mouth, and you can see the all the structure which are labeled over here. So let's decode this particular diagram over here. So here you can see this is the upper lip, superior lip. Here it is labeled, right? And here you can see the superior lip is attached with the gums by a superior labial frenulum, which is a kind of a tissue, you can say, right? This is a tissue which is connecting this superior lip with the gums. All right, and here you can see gingivae or gums are present, into which the teeth are embedded into the socket of these gums, right? And here you can see this arc, which is present at the posterior part of the oral cavity, known as palatoglossal arc, right? There are few gaps present with this uvula, which is the later part of the palate, right? And this is a hanging like structure of the palate. And what is palate? First of all, let me tell you, the roof of this oral cavity, is known as palate, right? This roof of the oral cavity is known as palate, and palate having two parts. One is the anterior part, and this anterior part is known as hard palate, and the posterior part, which is soft, known as soft palate. Why it is called hard and why it is called soft? Because hard palate is made up of two bones, maxilla and palatine bones. While this particular part is soft because this is made up of stratified squamous epithelium. All right, and this hanging part of the soft palate is known as uvula. Now it's clear? Yes. This is the cheek, right? These are the teeth, different teeth: molars, premolars, right? Canine, incisor, you can see over here. This is buccal vestibule. You can see, as I was telling you, that the portion of oral cavity where the food is temporarily stored is known as oral vestibule or buccal vestibule. So this is the buccal vestibule. Here you can see this portion which is present between the gums and cheeks, right? Gums and cheeks. This is the buccal vestibule. All right. Here you can see gingivae is labeled, and this is the lower lip, right? Inferior lip or lower lip, you can say, and this lower lip is also attached with the gums by help of tissues, and these tissues are known as inferior labial frenulum. All right, inferior labial frenulum. In the oral cavity, you will see a muscular flap-like structure. This structure is known as tongue. And this tongue is attached to the floor of the oral cavity by some tissues known as lingual frenulum. All right, this is given in NCERT, so this is important. This is the tissues which connect the tongue with the floor of the oral cavity. All right. Here you will see in the palate part, in the soft palate part, there are present some lymphoid tissues known as palatine tonsils, which are present between the arcs. All right, present between the arcs over here. All right, and this is known as palatopharyngeal arc, which is situated between the palate and the pharynx. All right, and here gap is known as fossus. So this was the label diagram of entire buccal cavity. Hope this will be clear to you, right? This is clear. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Thank you.